All right, Brandin Cooks is the most talented player on Houston, and from a fantasy perspective, he had over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, very highly targeted. Like it is lockdown target on Cooks. I guess the only question, Davis, is he's got to avoid concussions. That's what's kind of derailed him a little bit in the past. And again, when you read about like players who could potentially get traded, Cooks is like number one on every single list because you just know at some point Houston's going to be 1-5 or 2-6, and they're going to be looking to cash in on some other team's issue, whether it's somebody being hurt or just not playing effectively. So I expect him to be on another team in November, but he should be really valuable over the course of the season. As you draft him as a wide receiver too, you're going to get your 5 catches, 60 yards, and occasionally a touchdown.
Yeah, the Brandon Cooks thing is interesting because he could have been moved this offseason pretty cheaply. And instead of trading him, he signed a 2-year contract extension with the
Hmm.
Houston Texans that, were he to be traded, would cost the team that acquired him $43 million in dead cap. And this is a really lucrative deal for Brandon Cooks. I mean, he is making $18.5 million this year, $18.5 million next year. And if the Texans decide to keep him around for another year, $16.5 million. So I think Brandon Cooks did, honestly, this is the decision I would make if I was Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks has played for a lot of really good teams. I actually don't know. Has Brandon Cooks won a Super Bowl? I don't think so, but he's played with Drew Brees.
Got
He's
there
played
with
with
New
Tom
England.
Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he played with I guess it was
The
Jared Goff
Rams.
in LA, but yeah, but they
Yeah.
I mean he's been traded for a first round pick 3 different times, which
Ooh.
gotta be a record, right? But I think he is comfortable just getting his bag, getting 1,000 yards, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, kind of depending on what happens, because he's not gonna. It would be very surprising to see him get moved this year. Now he could get moved in the offseason with a restructure on his deal. And now I don't love Brandon Cooks in fantasy because, yeah, he's going to be pretty sturdy. He's going to be pretty steady, but there is no chance that he turns in a league winning season, right? The Texans just are not
Right.
going to be good enough, right? So for a guy to have 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns, like you got to be on a good team. I mean, look at all the guys, look at the wide receivers who go in the first round. They're all good teams. Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, all those guys. But he could be a good wide receiver too. The big issue I have with taking him in general is in most drafts he goes right ahead of Chris Godwin, and if things break right, Chris Godwin can be the number one wide receiver in fantasy football, right? He could get 180 targets, he could score 14 times, and I just don't think those things are in the range of outcomes for Cooks. But he's totally fine. I have no issue with taking him where he goes.